Welcome to our exploration of utility theory, a cornerstone of economics that helps us understand how people make choices. Utility theory examines how individuals measure satisfaction or happiness from consuming goods and services. By quantifying satisfaction, economists can predict consumer behavior and market trends. In this video, we'll break down the key concepts of total and marginal utility and introduce the law of diminishing marginal utility. These ideas are essential for grasping why we make the decisions we do when faced with limited resources and unlimited wants. Let's dive in and start with the basics. Utility is a term economists use to describe the satisfaction or pleasure a person derives from consuming a product or service. Imagine eating your favorite meal or buying a new gadget. Utility is the happiness you get from those experiences. This concept allows us to compare different choices and see which options bring the most satisfaction. By measuring utility, we can better understand why people choose one thing over another and how they allocate their resources. Next, let's see how utility can be measured and compared. Total utility refers to the overall satisfaction a person gets from consuming a certain quantity of goods or services. For example, if you eat 3 slices of pizza, your total utility is the sum of the happiness from each slice. Total utility helps us see the big picture of how much satisfaction we gain from all units consumed. It's a cumulative measure, showing how each additional unit adds to our overall happiness. Understanding total utility is the first step in analyzing consumer choices and preferences. Marginal utility is the extra satisfaction gained from consuming one more unit of a good or service. If you eat a 4th slice of pizza, the marginal utility is the additional happiness from that slice alone. This concept helps us understand how each new choice affects our overall satisfaction. Marginal utility is crucial for decision-making, as it shows the benefit of consuming just one more unit. It often decreases as we consume more, which leads us to an important economic principle. Total utility and marginal utility are closely related but distinct. While total utility sums up all satisfaction from consumption, marginal utility looks at the change in satisfaction from each additional unit. For example, your total utility increases with every slice of pizza, but the marginal utility might decrease with each new slice. This comparison helps us see why people stop consuming after a certain point. When the marginal utility drops, the incentive to continue fades. Law of diminishing marginal utility states that as you consume more units of a good, the additional satisfaction from each new unit tends to decrease. Think about eating pizza. The first slice is amazing, the second is good, but by the 4th or 5th, you might not enjoy it as much. This principle explains why people eventually stop consuming, even if the good is still available. It's a key idea in understanding consumer behavior and market demand. Imagine you're at a party with unlimited pizza. The first slice is delicious and brings you a lot of happiness. The second slice is still enjoyable, but maybe not as much as the first. By the 3rd or 4th slice, you start to feel full, and each additional slice adds less and less satisfaction. This is the law of diminishing marginal utility in action, showing how our desire for more decreases as we consume more. Utility can be visualized using graphs. Typically, total utility increases with each unit consumed, but at a decreasing rate. Marginal utility, on the other hand, usually slopes downward, reflecting the law of diminishing marginal utility. These graphs help us see the relationship between the number of units consumed and the satisfaction gained, making it easier to analyze consumer decisions. Marginal utility is important because it helps explain how consumers decide when to stop buying or consuming a product. When the marginal utility of an item falls below its price, people usually stop purchasing more. This decision-making process is at the heart of consumer choice theory and helps businesses set prices and predict demand. Consumers aim to maximize their total utility given their budget constraints. This means they allocate their resources in a way that brings the most satisfaction. By comparing the marginal utility per dollar spent on different goods, people can make choices that increase their overall happiness. This principle is central to understanding how markets function. Utility theory isn't just for economists, it's part of everyday life. Whether you're choosing what to eat, what to buy, or how to spend your time, you're constantly weighing the satisfaction you'll get from each option. Understanding utility helps you make better decisions and get the most out of your resources. While utility theory is powerful, it has its limits. Not all satisfaction can be measured precisely, and people's preferences can change over time. Additionally, some choices are influenced by emotions or social factors which aren't always captured by utility calculations. Still, the theory provides a useful framework for understanding many economic decisions. Economists sometimes use a fictional unit called a util to measure utility. While utils aren't real, they help illustrate how satisfaction changes with consumption. For example, the first slice of pizza might be worth 10 utils, the second 8, and so on. This makes it easier to compare and analyze choices. Utility theory helps explain the law of demand. As the price of a good falls, the marginal utility per dollar increases, making people more likely to buy more. Conversely, if the price rises, the marginal utility per dollar decreases and people buy less. This relationship is fundamental to how markets operate. Consumer equilibrium occurs when a person has allocated their resources so that the marginal utility per dollar is equal across all goods. At this point, they can't increase their total utility by changing their spending. This balance is what drives rational consumer behavior in economic models. When the marginal utility of one good falls, consumers may substitute it with another good that offers higher marginal utility per dollar. This is known as the substitution effect. It explains why people switch between products when prices or preferences change. The income effect describes how a change in purchasing power affects consumption. If the price of a good drops, your money goes further, allowing you to buy more. This increase in consumption can also be explained by changes in marginal utility as you adjust your choices to maximize satisfaction. Indifference curves show combinations of goods that provide the same level of total utility. By analyzing these curves, economists can predict how people will respond to changes in prices or income. Indifference curves are a visual tool for understanding consumer preferences and choices. Businesses use utility theory to analyze consumer preferences and design products that maximize satisfaction. By understanding how marginal utility changes, companies can set prices, create bundles, and develop marketing strategies that appeal to customers' desires. Governments also use utility theory to design policies that improve social welfare. For example, taxes and subsidies can be used to influence consumption patterns, aiming to maximize overall happiness in society. Utility theory provides a framework for evaluating the impact of policy decisions. Behavioral economics challenges some assumptions of traditional utility theory. People don't always act rationally, and their choices can be influenced by biases, habits, or emotions. By combining utility theory with insights from psychology, economists can better understand real-world decision-making. Utility theory also helps explain how people make decisions under risk. Some individuals are risk-averse, preferring certain outcomes over uncertain ones, even if the expected utility is the same. This concept is important in finance, insurance, and everyday choices involving uncertainty. Welfare economics uses utility to assess the well-being of society. By measuring total utility across individuals, economists can evaluate policies and programs designed to improve social welfare. This approach helps guide decisions about resource allocation and redistribution. In game theory, utility functions represent players' preferences and guide their strategies. By analyzing how different choices affect utility, economists can predict outcomes in competitive situations, from business negotiations to international relations. Recent research connects utility theory with happiness studies. Economists and psychologists work together to measure well-being and understand what truly brings satisfaction. This interdisciplinary approach helps shape policies and business practices aimed at improving quality of life. Utility theory also applies to environmental decisions. People weigh the satisfaction from consuming resources against the long-term benefits of conservation. By understanding these trade-offs, policymakers can design incentives that encourage sustainable behavior. When new technologies emerge, consumers evaluate the utility they provide compared to existing options. If the marginal utility of the new technology is higher, adoption rates increase. This process explains how innovations spread and markets evolve. Businesses use utility theory to set prices that match consumer willingness to pay. By analyzing marginal utility, companies can find the optimal price point that maximizes both sales and profits. This strategy is essential for competitive markets. Product bundling combines multiple goods to increase total utility for consumers. By offering packages, businesses can enhance perceived value and encourage higher spending. Utility theory helps companies design bundles that appeal to customer preferences. Wrap up: utility theory provides a powerful framework for understanding consumer choices. By distinguishing between total and marginal utility and recognizing the law of diminishing marginal utility, we gain insight into why people make the decisions they do. These concepts are not only central to economics but also relevant to everyday life, business, and public policy. Keep these ideas in mind as you encounter choices, and you'll have a deeper understanding of the forces shaping our world.